Hey guys, it's me, arigatoGG, back with my second episode of Podcast GG with BigMac.
Hello, that's me.
Yeah, Big Mac was with me on my first episode of podcast where we talked about dreams and kind of shared the type of dreams that we had and just the interpretations of it. So today we are going to be covering success and different measures of success and what society thinks success is. Damn, I was trying not to say that, but
So off recording, I guess, is so habit to say stream. Off recording, we were going to talk. We just said, all right, what sort of topics we're going to talk about. This can be one, and she fluffed up success a good 15 times, and I was like, you're going to do it in the podcast, and she's like, no, I won't. I've got
nah. I mean,
this. First
okay.
time she says it,
Yeah.
you can't plan that.
Whatever. Anyways, back to the topic of success.
Yeah.
So yeah, success I think is measured differently from person to person, but there definitely is a social, like generalized, like picture of success. You know, like like the American dream. Buying out a house with a white picket fence. All that stuff. Having a nice paying job, starting a family.
I wonder if it's based on culture. Because say, obviously, like you said, the American white dream, fuck's sake. The American dream is to, like you said, white picket fence, lovely house, man, wife, kids, dog, the lot, right?
Yep.
But then in like another country, I wonder. Yes, obviously I'm English. I live in England, so it's a bit different, but not really, because that is kind of, I guess for me the dream would be sort of a small but like decent house, working husband and all of that, just because that's how sort of you've been taught to think. But secure and all this. But I wonder if in another country, what the society makes of success, and that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that in terms of like I think it differs from like probably not a whole lot differently, but from culture to culture, the standard of success where you can look at someone and say, hey, that guy's successful. I shouldn't even say guy, I should say that person.
I think that's also something that I think is worth bringing up is, say 50 years ago, a successful woman in most countries probably would have been a mother, a carer, not really someone that had a position of power. Thankfully it's changed. But like you yourself said, the American dream is still very much the
like the standard. Yeah. Well,
when does that make a woman with a well-paying job in a flat less successful?
Yeah, I guess it has to not only do with the difference in culture, but also the time period as well.
100%.
Okay.
So what for you is success?
For me, my measure of success is just being happy, finding happiness, whether it be in a job, in a relationship, or just relationships in your life overall. Like, for me, what I find most happiest is when I'm able to just kind of take some time to just reflect on a lot of the things that I do, that I enjoy. And if I'm able to reflect back onto that, like let's say I really enjoy going hiking, right? Like I haven't gone hiking in a while, which is probably why I'm like super stressed out and everything, because it's always been a really good way for me to unwind and de-stress. But whenever I go on these hikes, when I like reach the top of like whatever it is that I'm climbing, like a mountain, whatever.
We'll just say Everest.
Yeah, let's say when I reach the top of Mount Everest, I like to sit there for like a few minutes, even up to an hour, to just kind of reflect, and it feels so good. And in that moment, you feel success. You're successful. You know, I guess
Yeah.
there are different levels of success too, like long term, short term. Um,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. Um, so for me, it's really just finding happiness. I don't care about like financial success. It'd be great. Yeah, it would take a lot of stress off of my shoulders. But if I can do something I love and I enjoy doing and I barely make a living doing it, but I'm still able to
Hmm.
make a living doing it, I'd be totally like happy with it. You know, I
So just touching on that, in primary school, which is elementary, I think, is the equivalent,
mhm,
sort of the age of 6 to 11.
mhm.
Teachers always asked me, and just the rest of the class, not just me, what do you want to be? Like, what job do you want? Where do you want to be in the future? And I always said homeless. One, because I'm a little shit. And just,
Smart ass.
yeah, and just a little smart ass, just messing with them was fun for me. But also because it really didn't matter. If I could find a way to be happy and like find the things in life that make me happy and be homeless, that's not an issue for me. Like having a house over my head doesn't make me happy or unhappy. Obviously, I have a house over my head at the moment, and I'm happy with that. But if I was also happy and comfortable in a situation where I was living on the streets, I'd still be fine with that. Because I always found it interesting that like they all were always, oh, surely you want to be a policeman, a fireman, this, that, and the other. But none jobs to me don't make you. It isn't
Successful.
something that you should be chasing your entire life. Exactly. Yeah, it's not successful and shouldn't be something you're chasing and
Yeah.
aiming for.
Yeah, I think like from the sounds of it, like me and you, the way we measure success is like your level of happiness with
Oh,
like whatever it
100%.
is that you're doing as well. Um,
It's too easy to be unhappy as well with like
Absolutely.
aspects of your life.
And it takes some guts to actually pursue what makes you happy, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's
Well,
a really scary path to go down.
yeah, most of the time it isn't something that's going to be financially or logically beneficial for you. Like
Hmm.
you could be, you might have to change your life completely, whether that's where you live, your sleeping times, or anything like that. It could all change at the drop of a dime. But yeah, so in your opinion, say like where would you be at the height of your successfulness? Say
Like,
like 50 years down the line, or what x how many years, and
where
you're
would I be?
finally there. Yeah.
Um, I would be, I would be doing something I love. And if I'd be making great money doing what I love. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, money does play into it as well because financial freedom allows you so many other freedoms.
Of course.
Um, so I would say getting paid amazingly well to do something I love and to have someone to share that with, then I would be like, yes. I think when I get all those three things, I would consider myself to be successful.
Okay. Yeah, you can't. I mean, it's hard to argue with that, right?
Yeah.
I want to play devil's advocate, but it's like,
Yeah, it's like you can't really. Yeah, but I think the whole point, like, it's being able to share your success with someone is what makes it so much more enjoyable.
exactly. It's nice if you can be happy in yourself, then that's great.
Hmm.
But I always think if you can have, sorry, hold on. There you go. Someone like alongside you, who can take the lows and the highs with you, then that as well is a success, because you don't need anyone else except that one person. For me at least, and it sounds like the same with you. Like you could have 100 friends that you're kind of they're not like close friends. They're kind of like
Just like
friends that are just
acquaintances.
there. Yeah. But then if you have like that one significant other,
Hmm.
that's
It's like
you know
nothing else matters.
it can't be
Yeah.
compared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. All right. So that makes me going back to success and measuring success. I want to bring up social media.
Okay.
Because social media very much portrays success in a certain type of way. It glorifies
No, I
everything.
agree. Yeah.
It's almost like this filter, like happiness filter of some sort. Like, oh,
Hmm.
this life is amazing. Um, And I read actually something that Elon Musk wrote on Twitter, and it's basically said um, about social media in general is that the reality is great highs, terrible lows, and unrelenting stress. Don't think people want to hear about the last two. But that's totally true though, because when you think about it, like social media portrays like only your really good times, like,
Yeah.
and that's all you see, and you're thinking like these people are living these fantastic lives, stress free, and like nothing's ever wrong. And it's so crazy how social media can like shape people's mindset without really intending to.
I think social media, like you said, is it tries to show you what perfection is, but it kind of, I think it does it. Social media, for the most part, is more damaging than anything else because it makes, especially young minds, think, oh, I can just be happy. I just need to be this. I just need to be that. And social media can portray, okay, this is how you get there. This is how you're happy. This is how you're successful. And we'll probably go on to another podcast, but
Yeah.
I think looks is a huge thing with what's attractive, and attractive making you more successful, more happy, more everything. Whereas if you look non-perfect, which the media, portrayed, then you're going to be less happy. But by reading that, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you remember the name Ty Lopez? The guy
No,
who's in his garage and he has like a bookcase behind him and he's sat there with his Ferrari. He's like an advert on YouTube.
no, I don't. I don't know.
Okay. Because he was like, oh, this is how I'm successful. Now I'm here in my garage with my Ferrari and my books, and it's all about knowledge. And he portrays himself as this extremely successful guy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I don't really know his life story, but it's interesting. It was a couple of years ago, I think, that this 30-second advert popped up, and it shows this well-groomed, fairly attractive guy, books. So you assume he's quite smart. He has a Ferrari, which is a fancy sports car, so you think he's quite well loaded. So I think all of those things have sort of been like relayed into us that's when you've made it.
So
And I think that's why. Sorry, Carol.
well, I was going to say, why do you think, society as a whole makes like financial success such a huge definition of success itself?
I mean, it's probably considered a little bit of a conspiracy, but it's controlling in a way. Because to earn money, you have to try and earn money, and in doing so, you also earn more money for your country. If you have a country full of rich people, then the country will be rich, if that makes sense. So I do think it can also like influence that, honestly. What about you?
Like, yeah, I suppose that I would say along the same lines is just money is power, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have money, you have power, and you have power, you can control things, influence things in a certain way to an extent.
Yeah.
And so maybe success equals power for some people, or power equals success for some people.
I do think there's a very close line between money, power, and success.
Okay.
Or the way it's portrayed to us by society and things. So I did sociology in college, and a lot of it was a lot like this, talking about, the factory workers, which are known as the proletariat, and the bourgeoisie, which are the people that own the factories, and how you have this constant battle of like the factory workers wanting to get up there with the bourgeoisie, but they can't for many reasons, and it's all just, it is control, and it's
almost like we're these like, what's a proper word for it? Like these pawns that are being used to just generate, you know.
That's exactly, what it does seem to be, and it'd be interesting to see a country or society without that. But I also think it could never happen. Sadly, like obviously I think worldwide the dream is unified peace. Everyone money isn't a thing. Everyone can just spend
Communism.
whatever they want. Exactly that. I mean, but it's not exactly realistic, sadly, because there's always going to be,
Well, when you think about communism, now we're going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. I mean, the ideals of communism sounds like it actually would be cool, right? But it's just the influence.
Ever argues that.
Yeah, I think, but when I know that whenever people hear the word communism, it has such a negative connotation to it that they just
fucking commies.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And so, but like the ideals of communism is actually pretty interesting. And if it was in a perfect world, in a perfect communistic world, it probably would be great. But since we are human and they're human, the human race is full of greed, power lusting individuals. It's just never gonna happen.
No, I think that sums up communism to a T. That is what everyone should want. I can't see anyone being like, you know what, communism, bad idea, awful. Who would want that? Oh, you don't want an equal society and world that everyone could live in, and everyone is doing fine and great. Oh, okay. Why? I just like suffering. But like. Yeah, I don't think it could ever happen unless something completely changes the world where money is obsolete for whatever reason, but I can't see that ever happening.
So I'm going to take us back to the whole social media thing, and the measure of success, because you see a lot of these like really big social media influencers, or what's the right term for it? I don't know. But like someone who's like, and you see them always posting like these elaborate lives that they live. And I think when it gets to a point where everyone starts comparing themselves to these people. And I think this is where a lot of times people start to feel like they're not successful because they aren't leading these lives like these people that they see on social media. They're like, why can't I be living this life? It's like, I'm not successful until I live my life like them, like traveling all around the world, just going wherever I want, doing whatever I want.
I think that's when you have to, because I think that's, I said I criticize social media a lot. So I am quite biased, but I think that's one thing that social media does do. It forces a comparison between you and what you're seeing. And like you said, what you're seeing is this perfect person living their perfect life, and that's not reality. They'll never post an image of them crying or being heartbroken or having financial issues or anything. You don't see the behind the scenes.
You don't see the struggle.
Exactly.
You don't see like what it took to get there. You just see like the final take.
Exactly. Exactly. It's you see exactly what you're supposed to see. On social media, and it's a bad thing when people start comparing themselves, because then it always comes down to the question, what's my worth? Right.
So and maybe that's the reason why our current generation is like, it's almost like they're more depressed than they've ever been. It's because they're probably comparing themselves on social media to these like ideals. That's what I would argue.
I think it is a huge part of that. Like, so I think my generation probably like is in between, but the generation below me, so like say 10 years below me, I'm 20, so like 10-year-olds now see it a lot more, where celebrities are how you need to be. You need to be like that for whatever reason. Like a lot of people, again, I'm going to name some names, like Kardashian. That is a lot of people would love to live like that, but it's not exactly healthy. It's, it's in my eyes, because it's forcing you to not embrace yourself or individuality or who you are. it's trying to push you towards be a bit more like this, wear this, look like this, and it's just I don't know. It's just it doesn't breed a good mindset, and I think that is why a lot of people are having more and more insecurities and mental health issues because
They keep
they look
comparing them.
around them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Man.
that's just what I think.
Yeah, and you really don't have very many like great people out there on social media that you can actually look up to, you know, as idols.
Yeah,
It's
no, I'd agree with that.
yeah, they I don't know. Like I can't even think of anyone who'd just be like, yeah, I want to be like that person because you can tell that they're genuine, they're good people, you know.
Well, I don't think there is anyone that is a good person all around because I feel like there's times where they're a good person, but there's also times where they're probably a bit of a dick. That's just how people are in my eyes.
That's fair, yeah.
But do you know J.K. Rowling,
Yeah,
the lady who wrote all the Harry Potters and
of course.
countless
Come
other
on.
things?
Who do you think you're talking to here?
I'm sorry. But she is one of the first people who I can't remember exactly, so I'm going to be a bit vague here. She got to an X amount, whether it's millions or billions, and she's one of the only people to go under and then back up and then under again, just because she's given so much away to charity. And she's never. And this is the most important thing for me. It's nice giving all that to charity, but she has never brought attention to that. It's just sort of leaked out.
Yeah. See, that's something.
There's a lot of people that are like.
That's something that I can appreciate. Yeah, there's a lot of people who would give away money and be like, "Oh man, yeah, I gave all that money
See
away."
how good I am.
Yeah, look at me give all this money away.
How many YouTube videos are filming them and like homeless people? Like, look, guys, I'm gonna give this homeless man a pizza. He's gonna really love it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to film that. Like that's to me that's not.
It completely defeats the entire purpose of what you were doing in the first place. Granted, yeah, I'm sure that person was really happy, you know, but at the same time, why you could have done that without the cameras?
Exactly. You don't need to document everything you do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do, and I've been intrigued with this, streaming someone's life, like this theory, streaming someone's life, the highs and the lows, everything they go through, just to show, like even a documentary of like someone's year, the highs, the lows, constantly there, and like if there would be a way that you could portray what they were thinking and how their mind was and how their body felt as well, would be so interesting. Because I think it will also show so much how media is just seen as this bright, beautiful, colorful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, look, life isn't just rainbows and happiness. There's some shit in there too.
Yeah, just a little bit. A little bit of shit in there.
But you can't have highs without lows.
Yeah, and that's exactly like taking it back to that quote that I shared earlier from Elon Musk. You know, it's that, you know, they want to see the really great highs, but people don't want to talk about the terrible lows and the stress that comes with actually obtaining those highs. You know, and so when people try to obtain the same level of success and they start going through like all those obstacles and all the lows, they're like, they just give up. Yeah, because they think it's going to be easy the entire way, or you know, if I follow this person the same way that they did it as I see it on social media, then I'm going to get there. I'm not saying that everyone thinks that way, but
no, I think a lot of people do. I also think there's an element of luck. Say acting, especially, or a career like that that's so sought after. It can be a luck thing. It doesn't matter how good you are. In a world that we live where there's this many people, and acting and singing are jobs that a lot of people are trying to get, it's gonna be tough to be. You can't just rely on good enough. There does need to be a luck element in there.
Well, not only just luck, but you know what they say. You know, if you know the right people, that's even better.
Well, I was gonna say, like, just luck of being in the same room as someone and being like, "Oh, hi, can you help me out?" Or they just offer help or whatever. It's incredible. There was this thing I read, and obviously don't know how true it is, but you remember Robin Williams, the comedian?
I think I remember him. Yeah.
Everyone should know him. I think he was a very interesting person because he's, again, everyone would see him as a very funny man, and everyone assumes funny people are happy. But I argue the funniest people often know the darkest of times, because then they understand how important comedy is. That's just my personal theory on that.
No,
But I remember something got leaked out that whenever he got hired, he also put as like a clause, because they have like requests and things, don't they? I can't remember what it's called. There's a word for it, but he put in there that they have to hire like 20 homeless people as well, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, he doesn't need to do and probably cost him a good few jobs, but if that's true, awesome. If that's not, then well, fuck. Would be cool if someone, did something like that.
And I do remember reading an article about that too, about Robin Williams and the whole thing about, no one knew that he was actually in pain, suffering. And it's crazy because I think a lot of times people end up putting up that front because they assume that that's what other people want to see all the time.
Well, no one wants to see unhappy people.
Well,
which is why
that's true.
If you are unhappy, everyone's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And let's be honest, we've all been there. You shrug it off and say, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah, because you don't want to deal with it then.
Exactly.
That's so true. That's so true.
And I think depression can be a lot like that, where it's internally you're breaking down to a point that is probably unfathomable and could never be explained to someone that has never felt depressed, that they then just get it and like, oh, that's how it feels. I don't think you could ever explain it like that. But I don't know. I just have a lot of respect for Robin Williams, and it is sad that he passed, obviously, especially from mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happens to too many people, because it happened to Chester Bennington as well.
Yeah, I know. But it's so crazy, like the songs that he wrote.
Yeah.
With
I mean, he was singing out, and
I think
it's obvious now, but like, I don't know.
I mean, man, we're gonna totally get off the topic here.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, mental health and success do go hand in hand.
Yeah, it does. They're related for sure.
Exactly.
Man.
I would like to do another podcast just about mental health, though.
Yeah, I think we should, definitely. Let's absolutely do another podcast about mental health.
We do this like a two-parter. So it's like success into mental health. Yeah? I don't know.
We could, our next podcast, we could do mental health, for sure.
I'm fine for that.
All right. So
I'd be interested if we have any special guests as well that want to come on for that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Let's ask. We'll ask people in our Discord and see if anyone wants to join in on that topic, because I think we could get a lot of different opinions and voices on this.
Yeah. Right. I would also love to hear. So there's a lot of regulars that we know their aliases and things, but if they want to go into detail about how they've got to the point we now know them in their life, that would be cool. So like their story, they get to share that from as much as they can remember to where they are now. That could be cool.
Yeah. All right. I would note that down.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about people comparing themselves to, social media and what social media shows. But I think the true measure of success is really it's individual.
100%.
It's
one of those words that is exactly what you make of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
excuse the dogs.
So good.
Hold on.
Yeah, no, I think it's there's a lot of words where there is definitions of them, like happiness. Everyone knows what happiness is, but to individual people, happiness can mean other things. Like I used to have this phrase that, well, not even phrase, I don't know how to describe it. I'd always see a word and be like, all right, this is what the word literally translates to, which is what Wikipedia or the dictionary would say it is. But then it can have like a personalized version. It's like a personal dictionary. Like I had someone who nicknamed me Dino. I can't even remember why. But then that word, Dino, which most people would read as like, oh, it's just abbreviation for dinosaur or whatever, actually means something a lot more to me because it's a link to that friendship. I don't know if Gav's still here. Okay, so I don't know if I explained that, correctly.
Sorry,
but,
I had to go get my dogs.
I was just talking about how there's words that have a literal translation. So it's like, I used the example of happiness. Everyone could explain probably quite badly what happiness is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then to each individual person,
it's all different.
And how I used to see things as there's a literal meaning for it. So this is what the word means. This is how I could explain it to other people. But how the exact same word could have a totally different meaning to you. So, for example, I had the nickname from a friend, Dino. Most people would see that as an abbreviation of dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
If they just saw Dino. But to me, it was so much more because it was a link to them and like a very deep inside joke.
Yeah.
So to me, that like the personal dictionary side of it was a lot more. It wasn't just 4 letters for me. It was a lot more than that. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm going laggy, I think.
Yeah, no. At what point in your life, for you, I know you just asked me, but I didn't ask you this earlier. At what point would you say that you are successful?
I don't know if I ever will be.
Why is that?
It's hard for me to think of, because job doesn't matter, which is quite nice because then I don't have to, that's not a worry. So I could have any job in the world as long as it doesn't make me overworked and depressed and everything. Then I'm fine. But like I'm happy, honestly, job wise. I would consider working in a little shop, getting fair pay, because it's sad that money comes into it, but it makes sense. You need money.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely. Yeah.
It'd be nice to live without it, but the thought of living without it would be lovely, but it ain't gonna happen. Just a little job like that. I used to honestly think it would always be the family man for me.
Okay.
Where I would have, a missus, kids, dogs, all of that. But the difference between mine and say other people's was I wouldn't mind if I was the stay-at-home dad, I'm fine with that, and I would still consider that successful for me. But that used to be what I always used to say. But now I don't know, honestly, because I'm not too fussed by that. Like that used to be what I wanted so much. But now I'm not too sure, to be honest.
We were talking about society's expectations of certain roles and stuff. I think stay-at-home dads are a lot more acceptable now than they ever have been. I know we were talking about, stay-at-home moms earlier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it doesn't matter, again.
Yeah, exactly, who the breadwinner is.
Into it a lot. But gender, obviously, there's been... Okay, I know. I'm a little bit unaware on this, I'll be honest. But the gender wage gap, I don't know if there is one or whatever. I would argue in some jobs, yes, it would be harder as a woman, but there'll also be other jobs that's harder for men, I'm sure. Extreme jobs that make, but that's always going to be there, I think. But I think for the most part, a woman can have the same job as a man.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the most part, and get the most, get the same pay and everything like that.
I think the only thing that was ever holding them back before, where it was just like we were talking about society's expectations and the roles that certain sexes fit into.
I mean, for world wars, women had to take over the country essentially because all the men were off fighting. So I think that was a big part of
That transition
women.
period.
Yeah, women being like, "Shit, we got this. We actually now want to." They're like, "All right, we did a job. We kind of want to do that again."
Yeah.
But I don't see there being, I think there's a lot of people that want to have issues. Does that make sense? So there's women that are like, no, there's a huge gap. Women have to stay at home, this, that, and the other. And same with men that are just the complete other way. And you're both pillocks, in my opinion. Like, just, I don't know. People just want to bitch.
Yeah, about anything they can, really.
Yeah, like, oh, my life's miserable and this is why. No, it's not. Shut up.
Yeah.
It may just, whatever. I don't know.
So, all right. I think
There's
I
genuine
want.
complaints.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say that I was going to start wrapping up a little bit on this topic, but
Yeah.
I just want to touch up on a few things. Is that I think what we covered was basically everyone has their own measures of success. And I think a lot of those measures are based in what you value the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's important is that don't let social media or society as a whole determine what it is that you would think is successful for you.
Yeah.
Set your own standards.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
And I think just to finish it off is like really like just because you have a certain picture of success in your head at one point doesn't mean it's not going to change. I think it's something that's ever evolving, ever changing.
That's life, though.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why it should change. And I think that, as you experience things, as you get older, your values change, and therefore your measure of success changes with it.
I agree with that.
Yeah. You have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're good. I'm intrigued. So I asked you about how you saw your success in the future. What about you at, say, 80, 90? Because no one thinks of that
like
age
looking
as being
back.
successful. Yeah. No, successful then. So, like, you as a 90-year-old, how would you try and feel successful?
When I'm 90, when I'm 90, if I reach 90,
Yeah.
if I'm blessed enough to reach 90, I would say I would feel successful having had a family. Family is very important to me. I grew up in a huge family, so it's always been such a big part of who I am and why I am the way I am. So having a family and just seeing them be successful, really just being able to be there as their guide, as someone that they can go to, and just continuing to just try to be the best person I can be to whether it be some random person I meet or people I see every day.
Yeah.
If once I hit 90 and I can think back and be like, yeah, I tried to be the best person I was, I would say that I was successful.
Good answer.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on our second podcast episode covering success and I guess a little bit of everything tossed in there as well.
I feel like that's always going to be our podcast.
Yeah, I know. But thank you, BigMac, for joining me again on episode 2. Episode 3, I believe we are going to be covering, what was it again? Mental health issues?
Or people's stories.
Yeah, and just having people, share whatever it is that they feel like sharing. Hopefully we'll be able to get a few guests for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but thank you so much for checking out podcast number 2, and we will catch you guys again hopefully next week. We're going to try to get these out once a week at least. All right.
Arigato.
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 Have a good night, guys.